What's going on, Bulls Nation? Welcome in the CHGO Bulls Podcast, coming to you from our studios here in West Loop, downtown Chicago. It's a Friday episode. It's a diehard mailbag episode. I'm Peck, Bulls_Peck, joined by Big Dave, BAWL Sports, and Will, the Go Golly, Will_Golly, our pal producer on the controls. It is Joey Spathis at Joey Spathis. Go, you are on the precipice of taking off.
On the precipice.
On the precipice of jetting off.
What's that line from The Sopranos? It's like something about almost being on the precipice of something. I gotta look it up.
I don't know. I need to rewatch Sopranos. I haven't watched it in a long time.
He'll know.
Yeah.
But I feel like that would just be a lead up to being really pissed off about the ending again.
Yeah. No, oh God, you're absolutely right. Now I know why I haven't rewatched it.
It's like I can never never do a rewatch of Game of Thrones because the last season was just so freaking bad.
Do what I do. Just go watch The Red Wedding. Like pick out favorite episodes and just rewatch.
I just rewatched Game of Thrones though, and it was so good. The ending still
pisses you
disappointing, but it's worth the ride.
Well, so anyway, right around when this episode drops for y'all on Friday, we are pre-recording it here Wednesday.
Wow.
Goat's going to be touching down at Paris, just because I guess it's been so long since you've been to Paris.
The Bulls are playing there.
The Bulls-Pistons game was too long ago. But that's exciting for you, man. So we figured we would do a diehard Discord mailbag Q&A for this Friday episode for y'all. If for some reason something crazy happened Thursday night or Friday morning, Bulls-related, that we are talking about, now you know why. We'll talk about it next week.
That's right.
But in the meantime, shout out to all of our CHGO diehards in that Discord Bulls channel who threw us some interesting questions for today. A lot of stuff about the Bulls' big picture, offseason decisions looming for AK and Eversley. We'll get to as many of these as we can. And just a reminder for those of you who aren't diehards yet at CHGO, this is one of the many reasons you should sign up. You get access to the diehard-only Discord channels, one for each team. And when we do a lot of mailbag content, whether it's us doing these episodes or Will, you do mailbag columns, first dibs on questions and getting those questions answered always comes to our diehards in that Discord.
This is true.
So let us dive in, gentlemen.
Wait. My brother just texted me. The line is, we are at the precipice of an enormous crossroads.
The precipice of an enormous crossroads.
So
wow. Whoever wrote that line of television.
He's got Sopranos quotes on deck.
I see.
Just ready to go.
Shout out, man.
Is Bro going to Paris too?
He will not be.
No?
He will not be gone.
Sucks for him. All right. Our first question comes from our pal Austin, who asks, as a fan of other sports, I tend to believe the G League is behind other quote-unquote minor league systems in terms of developing players for the NBA that can contribute to success long-term. Is that a G League issue, a reflection of the opportunity to play overseas, or just an indicator of how few players can sustain NBA success at a young age? Maybe I'm off base here, but would love to hear y'all discuss player development. Thanks for the question, Austin. Interesting question, and timing-wise, on the heels of the NBA Draft Combine that just happened here in Chicago last week. Depending on which Bulls fans you ask, Adama Sanogo is fully prepped and ready to be the Bulls starting center next season.
Fair.
Because he put up some numbers in the G League.
Fair.
I think I would tend to agree with Austin, at least for the most part, as someone who does not see a direct line of development when I see guys put up numbers in the G League and think that guy's NBA ready. Right. It's why I had, so many jokes and eye rolls about Sanogo and Bulls fans who were like, play this guy. I just don't see it. I think he has a valid question.
Yeah, the question is very valid. We've been to G League games. We sat and we watched them play. Nobody really leaps out at you, as far as like, oh man, this dude should be in the NBA, or you know what, this guy. It's more of this guy needs a lot more things and a lot more time before we can say he should be an NBA roster person. So I don't know whose fault that is. I could, if you want to go back and say AAU or guys just aren't learning fundamentals or things like that. I mean, that's probably more of a bigger picture kind of thing. But just looking at it as far as just the minor leagues, as far as baseball, which has always been, where guys go to get ready to come to the big league. I would say the difference with baseball is baseball has like 3 different levels before you even get to the actual big league when it comes to minor league baseball. There's A, there's AA, and AAA. Like basketball is just G League, and there you go.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it works in hockey. You all could break that down for me. But I just know in other leagues there's more emphasis kind of put on that. But G League is kind of new for the NBA, so you kind of just take what you can get at this point, I guess.
To me, it speaks to the level of talent that we have at the NBA level. Like the Bulls, I think, like many other teams, try to replicate their principles, their offensive system, their defensive system into their G League practices, into their G League style of play. But there's a difference between playing with DeMar DeRozan as the primary initiator and Dalen Terry as the primary initiator. We saw in Summer League last year, Dalen really struggle with the ball in his hands, creating offense. That's not who he is, but he's the best player on the G League team, so he's going to have the ball in his hands. Sure. Conversely, that's not at all the role that we see him play at the NBA level. He is in transition, he's defending, he's, doing all the role player stuff. So to me, it's like really difficult to replicate play style and to get guys to play in the role that they will eventually play at the NBA level, at the G League level, just because of the talent around them. And so I think it's a really good point. I think teams try to develop internally and do it that way, but it's just really tough to replicate NBA basketball at any other level because I think the talent is so concentrated. Versus baseball, it's like, if I'm a pitcher, I'm still pitching. It's not like my role doesn't change. I'm still throwing the same stuff. I'm throwing the same innings. Like that is who I am, and I'm working on my craft within that. With basketball, it's like you can't ask Dalen to be the best player on the G League team and then have those same skills translate to the NBA level because now he's like the 6th or 7th man, and he's not the first option when he's out there. So it's just totally different. It's apples and oranges.
Well, I would also say in those other leagues, there's a position available for you when they bring you up. In basketball, it's not really like that.
Yeah.
Like they already have a set rotation of who they want to run with, and especially if they bring you up mid-season, what coach wants to take that risk? You know what I mean? Sit somebody down and bring somebody in. So I would say on that level, it's a little. I can't think of a better word than easier because it's not just like it's easier. Maybe a little more simple. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's more simple, streamlined for them to get there because they, like you said, they know exactly what position they're going to do. If it's shortstop, it's shortstop. If it's catcher, you're going to be the catcher. Basketball is, the 6'8" dude might come in and he might say, "Hey, play the 2."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Get out there. Hey, dog, give me 5 minutes at the 3 and come sit down. So it kind of changes, and guys have those egos too who are already there, don't want to give up their spot, just like they do in any other sport. But in basketball, the ego's a little bit bigger.
And even within that, it's like, yeah, I might be playing second base in AA, but like when the grounder comes to me, I still got to throw it to first.
Yeah.
In basketball, oh, yeah, I might be playing point guard or center also, but my role within the offense is so drastically different because of the talent that I'm around.
Am I the scorer or the facilitator?
Am I a stand in the corner and shoot threes like I will be at the NBA level and defend?
Right.
Or am I the point guard trying to, initiate the whole offense?
Yeah. And I think that the difference in, I'm thinking about like NFL and just like the roster and the constant need for bodies. It's a 53-man roster, and you're talking 11 offense, 11 defense, and then also special teams. And some of the young guys, later draft picks, maybe undrafted guys that get invited to camp somewhere, end up making the final 53. Can be those guys who are used on special teams and then are somewhere 3-4 on the depth chart for their skill position or their defensive position, and then maybe something happens throughout the season where they get that chance to go out there and shine as a young player. In the NBA, you're talking about 5 starters and 3 or maybe 4 guys off the bench. Exactly. It's just the opportunity is not there for G League level players, aka second round picks, undrafted guys you bring to camp, to get those opportunities unless your team is decimated by injuries.
Correct.
And that's the other thing.
Correct.
When do those G League level players get opportunities to actually go and play and get thrown in the deep end in NBA games? For a rebuilding team that's not trying to win. The Bulls have been trying to win for the last few years. So Bulls fans frustrated with lack of development on G League players, it's like, well, that's because those players aren't getting in games because we got a team full of vets. They're not winning, but they're trying to.
And it's also like, there's 450 active roster spots in the NBA. That means that if you do come up from the G League, you're probably outside the top 450 players in the league, right? And so it's a Batum situation where he can come in and maybe have a moment,
Sure.
hit a couple of threes and defend, but like it's not going to be like Carlik Jones is a great example. Jaden Hardy with the G League Ignite
MVP.
a couple of years ago, where you put the ball in his hands and he goes.
Yeah.
And he's so talented at that level that it doesn't matter that he's 5'9", like he can still dominate. When you get to that NBA level, now there's 500 players that are better than you, like literally 500.
Yeah.
So it's just really tough to succeed at that level. I think that's why the G League Ignite got shut down after this year. Like it just wasn't working out. And the other thing is like Mike James is a great example of a guy who could play in the NBA, but he's not playing in the G League. He's playing in overseas.
Yeah.
And so a lot of those guys will take a bigger paycheck to go outside the country rather than play, on a two-way contract or, just a G League contract and have to travel from town to town in a bus instead of like flying on a private jet to play for whatever team in Barcelona.
Right. True.
Yeah. All right, let's
Great
dive
question.
into our
Really
great question, Austin. Our next question comes from Gus G on that Bulls Discord. Watching the playoffs has me super jealous of these other teams. Okay. Same. You need a top 5 to 10 player to be a contender is our only hope to get lucky in the draft and pick someone that develops into a top 10 player. Thanks for the question, Gus. I would say that is the most likely hope when you look at what the Bulls have in front of them and where they are compared to actual championship contention playing in late May, like the 4 remaining teams are now. Because this front office has shown since that summer of 21 that they are fine sitting on their hands and not doing much of anything. They don't make trades. They haven't made a trade in 3 years. So if you're talking about getting that top 10 player to come join the Bulls and make them a contender, and I agree, you need a top 5 to 10 player to make deep playoff runs in the NBA today. You just do. They're not getting one via trade because they refuse to. And show me the latest example of a top 5 to 10 player picking the Bulls in free agency. Show me that farm.
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't exist. So it has to be getting lucky with a draft prospect who maybe it's this number 11 pick this year or maybe somewhere else down the road, turning into a superstar when it is not expected by anybody.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I mean, there's 3 ways to change your roster, right? Draft, free agency, and
Trades.
Trades, thank you. And if you're unwilling to make trades, you aren't putting yourself in a position to draft a player who can be franchise changing at the top of the draft. And you are so capped out that you can't sign guys via free agency, it's very difficult to acquire those guys. And that's why I've been vocal about being okay with walking away from DeRozan and being okay with taking a step back next year to retain your pick, because at the end of the day, you're absolutely right. You need a top 5, top 10, maybe even top 15 player, if not multiple of those guys, in order to succeed. And that's not to say it's impossible. Like SGA, 13th pick, Jalen Williams, 13th pick. Like it's
Giannis,
possible.
Joker.
These guys can be found later, but you got to hit, and it's rare, and it's not the norm. Like you are still way more likely to find that kind of talent at the top of the draft. So it just requires a lot of luck. It requires really good scouting and player development, and you have to be in the right situation. And I just don't think the Bulls have put themselves in position to find somebody through any of those paths. And we're at a point where something's got to give now, because you can't bring everybody back. You're still maybe unwilling to go the other direction, but you also can't go into the luxury tax. So like you can't just keep existing in this like up against the tax, no draft picks. Like this is like the one square, the one tile on the whole board game where you're just stuck there and you've got to find another way out. And there are ways to do it, but it's just a little bit difficult.
Yeah, I think you just said it, especially with the 3 things you need to be a great team. Out of those 3 things, the Bulls pretty much do one, and that's free agency. They haven't made the trades in 3 years, and they don't have any draft picks because they're giving them away.
And they've done a good job in free agency, but it's not like they're signing LeBron James in 2010 or whatever.
But my point is, like, to get better, you're going to need all 3.
An infrastructure,
yeah,
right? Exactly.
You're going to need all 3 of those things, and they aren't doing all 3 of those things. You can just look around at the teams that are there right now, and they are literally doing all 3 of those things. So the Bulls doing one of them shows you exactly why they are kind of where they are right now. No trades, no draft picks, and you have a front office guy who does not like drafting high. So he's more likely to take a risk on someone who might be a project that's up there that high that he probably wanted to take a little bit lower. I don't know if that's a great thing. It hasn't worked out yet, I can tell you that. So Yeah, man, it's a tough situation that we're in for that because of that kind of thinking and that kind of ideology.
And like you said, you need to have a top 5 or top 10 player. Like there's only 5 top 5 players. There's only 10 top 10 players.
Correct.
That's a very small number relative to the rest of the league. And so you have to get lucky. You have to put yourself in a position to get lucky. And then you have to have the right infrastructure to develop that young talent, to put the right talent around him in order for him to succeed and for him to develop and get to that point where, you're not just SGA sitting behind a bunch of guys on the bench in LA and then being the third option with, an OKC team that also had Chris Paul and Gallinari and all these guys. So all those things kind of lead into it, but it requires like, not just like getting lucky in the draft one year and moving all the way up to one and finding your guy like that. It just doesn't really work that way. So many other things have to go into it, and you really need to put yourself in position in order for that stuff to align.
Like, for example, keeping your top 10 protected pick in next year's draft class. Maybe finding that guy that way. Which, by the way, we got to take our first break there. When we come back, we'll dive into the next question, which comes from Alexander, which is talking about a full-scale rebuild and how the Bulls best might approach that if they wanted to trend young, and whether or not that the Bulls should also consider listening to offers for some of their young guys, like Kobe and Ayo. So we will get to that question on the other side of this ad break, which, of course, while we're doing that, you know what to do. Hit that like button. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you also subscribe to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. Dave, who's first?
Ray,
Chevy,
the main man, giving you the deals that you love. Make Ray Chevrolet your first draft pick for your new Chevy this May. Visit our partner at their spot and at their Memorial Day sales event going on all month long at Ray Chevrolet on Route 12 in Fox Lake and at raychevrolet.com. As one of the top selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest, you'll be able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest inventories. Plus, you can find the perfect tailgate vehicle. Right now, get $10,000 off MSRP on a new 2024 Chevy Silverado, or lease a new 2024 Chevy Trax for only $199 a month for 36 months. Or celebrate Memorial Day your way and shop over 125 of their vehicles priced under $20,000. That is a deal. And if you heard of Ray Chevrolet, then you already know about that Ray price promise, y'all. They're guaranteed to make your next vehicle more affordable than ever with no price changing, no add-ons, and no hidden fees ever. Not gonna happen. That means that incredible price that we're talking about right now, you can expect to see the very same price when you shop Ray Chevrolet in store or online. So shop the Memorial Day sales event all month long by visiting Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Together, let's drive right on down to Ray Chevrolet. Do it!
I take a drive to Ray Chevy with you. Beautiful day for a drive.
Over to Fox Lake?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Route 12? Sure.
They've been serving the community.
Today's CHGO Bulls also brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks, the largest daily fantasy sports platform in all of North America. That's one of the continents. We are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. Just you against the numbers, because instead of battling thousands of other players like other DFS sites and apps, at Prize Picks, there's no pros, there's no sharks. It's just you using your own brain to make your picks, and then hopefully making the correct picks more or less on certain stat projections on 2 to 6 different players for the game that you're stoked to watch that night, and then just watch the winnings roll in. As we have now reached the conference finals in the Hoops playoffs, be sure to keep a lookout for those starred players on Prize Picks. The star player means more on Prize Picks payouts, so keep an eye on it, because you could receive up to a 10% payout boost if those starred players in your Prize Picks lineup do what you think they will in the game that you're watching anyway. We got Wolves Mavs, game 1.
Smack.
Tonight.
In the face.
Those of you watching this episode dropping on Friday already knew what happened in game 1.
You're smart.
Also, come on, Pacers. That game was right there for you to steal. Right there. Pacers in 7. Download that Prize Picks app today and use promo code CHGO for a first-time deposit match up to $100. That's code CHGO for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
In your face.
Bam. All right, diving back into our CHGO Die Hard Discord mailbag. Next question comes from Alexander. How would a rebuild look in y'all's mind? Keeping Io, keeping Kobe, keeping Patrick, or trade everybody / let people leave? This is a big picture question that is going to drive me crazy until we find out what AK does. when we're in July, at Summer League, and the dust has settled from the draft and free agency, I hope I will be sitting there saying, wow, I can't believe AK successfully kept us all in the dark, and we were worried about, continuity 4.0, and maybe they found a trade for Zach somewhere, but everything else is the same, and saying, no, when he said it's time for change, he meant it, and we were just a little impatient for a minute. Because I think if Alexander's question is, what's the best approach for a rebuild right now, it's AK actually embracing a real, actual rebuild. You gotta tear this down. You gotta gear towards keeping that top 10 pick next year in a stacked draft class. I don't think that he is willing to do that based on what we know about him, and the Bulls want to be competitive. But I think you got to start there. And to me, that includes listening to offers for some of the young guys that Bulls fans watch blossom this year.
You can still keep some of these young guys and still be a bad team. And
True.
You don't have to trade them all away. Toronto is a great example of that. You can still keep those young guys and be that. I think you can keep Kobe, you keep Io, you keep Pat, because you can go get that top 10 pick, but if you ain't got shit to build around it, you're still the Clippers. You know what I'm saying? Old Clippers when I say that. So you got to have some talent for him to actually walk into. So you can't, to the studs, what you say, Matt? Burn it down. What you say? Tear it down and then burn the ashes. Is that how you say? Yeah. You don't do that. Don't do that. I understand his mindset, but don't do that because they still have to have a house to walk into. You can't just walk into ashes. So yeah, keep the young guys. I am cool with trading everybody else. I'm cool with trading DeMar. I'm cool with trading Zach. I'm cool with trading Caruso. I think everybody's cool with getting Vooch up out of here. So yeah, you can get rid of those guys and still keep those young guys and still have some kind of skeleton for your top 10 pick to walk into.
Yeah, I totally agree. Look, I think the Bulls should explore trade options for Kobe and Io. I don't expect them to, and I don't think it's like a travesty if they don't. But because I agree, like if you just have Kobe and Io and Patrick next year, you're going to be bad. I think the key is Caruso and DeMar. Those are the guys you could still potentially get value for. But if not, they're the guys that are keeping you afloat. And if you, like, in my mind, a perfect rebuild would be, like, independent of Kobe and Io, like a 2-year window here where maybe you keep those guys because you want some young players, some infrastructure. You commit to trying to keep your pick next year, and then the year after that, when it goes down from top 10 protected to the Spurs in 25 to top 8 protected the following year in 26, you have this 2-year window where you let Vooch expire. You figure out how to get rid of Zach's contract. Lonzo becomes off the books. You get something for Caruso. You get something for DeMar. Now you've got the 11th pick this year. You've got Kobe. You've got Io. Hopefully you keep Patrick. You've got Julian Phillips, Dalen Terry. That's a decent young crop of players with whoever they draft this year. Hopefully you get a top 10 pick next year and the year after that. And now you're in a situation where you could potentially have a ton of cap room in a CBA where the league is going to continue to grow. There's going to be 10% growth on the cap sheet and the luxury tax every single year. You've got those young guys who will be up for new contracts, but you'll have their bird rights. You'll be able to go over the cap to re-sign them. And now you can be players in free agency. You've got good young players. You've got a couple of new guys in the draft and maybe even a couple additional draft picks if you can be smart with the way that you trade Caruso. That's a great situation. Is it a championship team? Probably not. I mean, we're going to talk about this now on yesterday's show from when you guys are watching. We haven't talked about it yet because we haven't recorded that yet. But like, spooky. Kobe did not appear on the top 25 players under 25 in the Ringers list today, and it's the Ringer who, like, we don't need to.
He got an honorable mention.
But like, if he was a top 25 young player in the league, then the Bulls would be in the playoffs right now. Like, I think that's just the reality of the situation. Like, they don't have the luxury of being able to like build around anybody on the roster right now. That's the thing. We just talked about it. Finding that top 10, top 15 player in the league. I think that's the way to do it.
Oh, I get
and
okay.
Yeah. So now you've got a couple of good young players that are on reasonable contracts that you build with. Hopefully you find a guy that can be the guy as a draft pick. It's kind of a similar situation to the one that AK led with, which was you have Zach, you trade for Lonzo and DeMar and Caruso and Vooch. You've got the Patrick pick coming in. You've still got Kobe. You've got some young players that could develop. You've got some older veterans that can lead you there. And you've got like your hopefully potential star player in Zach LaVine. I think if you view Kobe as the Zach in that situation and you bring in the next crop of talent around him, hopefully it's a young player in this draft, and next year that you're keeping, now you can be players in free agency. That's the recipe.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's super far-fetched, but it does require you to take a step back in the last 2 years of AK's contract, which is the scary part, and which is why it's probably not going to happen.
For him.
Well, real quick, you're saying if he was a top 25 player on this team as constructed, right?
Correct.
All right, got you.
Yeah.
Because I thought you were saying if you have a top 25 player, you go to the playoffs. My first thought was Charlotte got 2 of them. Like, why did? But I get what you're saying.
No, I'm saying
I get what
like,
you're saying. I get it.
Obviously, DeMar is who he is, and he's going to be so good that you're going to win approximately 40 games.
Yes.
But if you have the right young players that can elevate themselves into top 25 players under 25 caliber, now all of a sudden you've got something that you're working with.
Yeah.
And the Bulls just don't have that right now. It didn't work, but they've got to retry, and it just is going to take a little bit of time to get there.
And look, I agree that the Bulls could keep Kobe, keep Io, keep Pat, and still focus on keeping that top 10 protected pick next season, aka be bad next season.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Where I wonder which is more useful, talking about a full teardown rebuild, and some Bulls fans want that, is if you take advantage of the team-friendly contracts that you just mentioned, Will, specifically with Kobe and Io, on those multi-year deals, very modest average annual salaries, and dangling those to teams who are closer to the Bulls than actual contention right now, who still are falling short and looking for cheap improvements to their current rosters that are competitive. Because those kinds of teams might be willing to throw the Bulls assets that would be beneficial a bit further down the road than the development of guys like Kobe and Io, who you stick around for this quasi-rebuild that's not really a rebuild, who will then be due big contracts before you know it. So just like Bulls fans are frustrated with, hey, you missed the window to trade high on Alex Caruso. You missed it. Are you going to miss a window of trading high on a player like Kobe and or Io when other teams are eager to get contracts like those on their books and that talent in their system for their contention next season and the season after that? When if the Bulls fully embracing a rebuild is what they should be doing, then why do you need them around?
I would love to see what they can get, though. Like, for me, I would love to see exactly what is offered, because we just sat here and said Kobe is not a top 25 player under 25. So what are you willing to give up for that?
He's a most improved player award runner-up.
Sure. No, we can run those things
on
now,
a very cheap deal.
But does that mean you're going to give me multiple picks going into the future? You know what I'm saying? Like, Caruso, I already know you will. We've seen that established. But Kobe, it's still kind of up in the air.
Yeah, and I think that's why I kind of led this off with they should absolutely explore that stuff, because we don't know what they could get. And if it's really good, then you got to say yes to it, because
if it's really good,
that's the situation that you're in right now. But I also think what I don't want to do is come off as it has to be a full tear it down to the studs and start over 5-7 year rebuild project. I think that's probably your best bet, but I agree with you, Dave, that if you have the infrastructure in place and you just get a couple of more good young players, clear out the books long term, and then be able to be players in free agency, you've got draft picks, you've got young players, and you've got now space to be a free agent. Now you're doing all three of those things that we talked about,
right,
as far as ways to develop. You're developing your young players, you're accumulating draft picks, and obviously trading guys in order to do that, and then also becoming players in free agency. They're doing none of those three things, and they haven't for 3 years. They need to get back onto putting themselves in a situation to do all three of those things, and I think that's possible whether you're trading Kobe and Io or not.
Yeah.
Kind of like what Will just said there, man. I just don't understand why they can't do these simple things. You know what I mean? I'm sitting here and I'm listening to them. And it becomes a little frustrating to me when I hear that. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. It just becomes frustrating. I get frustrated when I talk about this shit.
Yeah, and that's how I've been feeling talking about this team for the last 3 years. But like, let's say you're AK, and I know he has said that he was allowed to go in a rebuild, but let's pretend for a second that if he doesn't make the play-in, at least he loses his job, and he has no ability to sign a free agent right now.
Okay.
But he needs to make the play-in, so you can't trade DeMar Caruso.
Yeah.
Like, how do you go about turning this thing around? It becomes very difficult when you look at it through those lenses, and I think really, for me, it kind of starts with trading Caruso and either sign and trade DeMar or let him walk. But when you do that, you're basically guaranteeing yourself not to be in the play-in, and then you put your job in jeopardy. So I think that's why there is this push and pull. Whether that's the reality or not, like, I think that's the holdup.
See, I think, but the front office has come out and said we are behind an actual rebuild. We are cool with it. So for me, the holdup is the.
You mean ownership has said
ownership?
That.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Ownership has said this. So for me, the holdup is the person that's actually making the basketball decisions.
Right.
Because he doesn't want to do it.
And the part I at least have some sympathy. It's eye-rolling sympathy, but sympathy with AK not wanting to embrace that when you were talking about it, like tear it down to the studs will, and that, you know, if you're talking about legit just like overhauling an entire roster and starting to rebuild that way, he already did that. Like, AK came in and took this job, and then save Zach LaVine and Kobe White, completely flipped a 15-man roster in the span of like 18 months.
That's true. He did.
Yeah, and
so he's probably like, I don't want to do that again.
yeah. Or I might lose my job if I do that again.
Right, yeah.
Those things.
Because I know that that's what he said, but like the reality of the situation is like the Bulls operate like a business, and if they put themselves in jeopardy in terms of income and revenue, then that becomes more difficult. So I do think that there are realities there, and it's why I don't think a full teardown is coming. But I also don't know that even that sort of like soft rebuild that I was talking about, where you keep Io and Kobe, is coming, even though I think that's the quickest way to kind of pivot out of this.
Yeah. All right, let's knock out a quick second ad break. We will come back, dive into more questions. Thank you for that one, Alexander. We got questions from Jelly, French Bulls fan, and AJ on deck on the other side, talking about ideal splash offseason moves and more. Somebody looking for fun and hope as a Bulls fan. Good luck with that.
What's wrong with that?
Hit that like button if you didn't do it the first time around. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Salerno's Pizza. Stop by Salerno's on tap, located at 1201 West Grand Avenue here in Chicago's West Loop. Our neighbors, and enjoy their tavern-style pizza and their ice-cold beers. Whether you are headed to the game, watching the game, maybe some of these conference finals games on one of their big screen TVs in their dining room, or watching that game from home and want your pizza delivered, God, is there anything better than getting delicious pizza delivered to your door?
No.
Salerno's has you covered, whichever way you want to roll, getting that pizza to enjoy your sports and eating adventure as we watch these NBA playoffs. Go to Salerno'sPizza.com or call 312-666-3444. And here is the kicker. You mentioned CHGO Bulls. You get half off your pizza.
What?
50% off. Head to Salerno'sPizza.com or call that number, 312-666-3444 for more information. And again, mention CHGO and you're getting half off your pie.
That is an incredible deal, man. What to go, Gottlieb? What time is it?
Game time hoot.
Sir. Game Time is the authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip off with killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying those tickets. Of course, they got those last-minute deals, y'all. You can save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, you name it, you'll save it. The flash deals, save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event. And, of course, the world-famous zone deals, because that is when you can save even more when you choose that section and let Game Time go on and do that selecting. And they have the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. That is Joey Spathis' effort. 110% of the difference, y'all. That's how it rolls. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code CHGO. Get yourself $20 off your first purchase. That's CHGO. Get yourself $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guarantee. Because man, pack. What's up? You know.
I like that you were doing like a little bit louder now, a little bit louder now, a little bit softer now, a little bit softer now.
I just got a flash of you at a party, doing that a bunch of times. I don't know why. That just looked like.
Oh, you know, I love hitting dance floors with reckless abandon.
Oh man, what are you putting on my jam?
We
bursts on the floor.
We should go to a wedding together sometime.
Oh, I am the man at weddings. I love weddings, dog. I always have the best times. And the best things happen.
Who doesn't?
At weddings. I love
event coordinators, probably. They're probably stressed out. Photographers, they're too busy to enjoy themselves.
No, not when they get around me. They want to have a good time, dog. We all about a good time at a wedding, man. It's a wedding.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Speaking of good times, Jelly in the Die Hard Discord asks, what would your optimal and logical splash moves be for AK this summer? What AK move could be made that as a Bulls fan you would be like, hell yeah?
Ooh, that is a good question.
I mean, for AK, it might be like finding a copy of the movie Splash in a $1 DVD bin at Walmart. That might be AK's splash move this summer.
Joe, you haven't seen the movie Splash? No. Sounds about right.
Game Time Hood.
What could he do? Like a big splash? Paul George?
Wow. I mean,
that'd be a big splash?
Yes, that would be a massive splash.
Okay.
My expectations, this is to let you know where I am as a Bulls fan. I would consider it a like legit solid splash if they managed to find a sign and trade for DeMar and get something for him.
Okay.
That's the world of reality that I'm looking in as far as what would be a splash. And by splash, I just mean like, hey, that's exciting. Didn't expect it, but good for you.
Okay.
Yeah, to me, it's DeMar, Caruso, Zach. Those, like, you can't bring in a Paul George. It would be awesome. It's not possible. It cannot happen. It will not happen. So to me, it's like getting something for.
Anytime Will says shit like that, I picture him as a dad. You know what I mean? His kids just crushing his kids' hopes and dreams every day.
Can't do it.
Can't put it down. You suck at baseball.
But what he can do is trade Caruso and trade DeMar, and I think that would be. Like nothing else can happen until those things happen. So to me, it starts there, and anything beyond that is, I mean, that would just you have to do that first.
The Caruso. So is it the bigger splash
or Zach? But like, I just don't want to see them attach picks to move off of Zach just to run it back. Like that makes no sense.
Can I ask this question? Is there of those three guys?
You can always ask me anything.
of those three guys, what move do they make first will make you be like, oh, okay, well then this is going to fall into place after?
I think it's DeMar because DeMar, as I said before, is so good that you're going to be in the play-in. And I just think it's impossible for them to ever get better if they won't first get worse. And so trading DeMar or even just letting him walk like changes your fortune such that like you have a chance to keep your pick this year. Yeah. And that's a splash. And then now you're in a situation where it's like, okay, yeah, it probably makes sense to move on from Caruso and capitalize on that. But then you've got your younger players still. Like, there's still jerseys to sell. There's still players to be excited about. And I think that's why that middle ground feels the best to me. Also, like, these teams in the East are not good. Like, maybe you make the play-in next year without DeMar and without Caruso, but you feel a lot better about it because Kobe took another step forward, and Io took another step forward, and Patrick took another step forward, and whoever you draft 11 was a contributor. That, to me, is a much better outcome, even if it's still the same amount of wins in a season. Even if you lose in the play-in another time, that's a much more compelling outcome because it is indicative of a new direction where now there's potential to grow. And, like, the Bulls have hit their ceiling. They have smashed their head against the ceiling one time, and then they, like, couldn't get back to that same ceiling 3 times. Yeah. So, like, what are we doing here? Like, you gotta set yourself up for something new and different. And even if that results in another play-in berth, like, I think it's a lot more fun and exciting to be talking about Kobe as the guy who scored 42 in another play-in series. And even if they lost, like, he took another step forward. And some of these young guys are showing some promise. I think that's got to be it for me. Okay,
I like it. Our guy, French Bulls fan in Discord, asking, "What's up, Clam?" So this came on the heels of a chat I saw happening in the Bulls Discord about Euro football teams and who roots for who. Okay. But so French Bulls fan asked, would you root for a certain country because someone from that country played for the Bulls? Like, would you root for Spain because of Pau Gasol, or France because of Joachim, or Germany because of Paul Zipser, parentheses, who we're high on? Direct quote, Gar Forman. Shout out to some of you OG Locked On Bulls listeners. One of them mentioned that like they still have that Gar Forman little soundbite of Paul Zipser, who we're high on, forever drilled and burned into their memory because shout out to my old co-host Jordan Malley, who made us like our intro for Locked On Bulls back in the day. He put that clip of Gar saying that about Paul Zipser in our intro. So literally Bulls fans who were sick in the head tuning into us for 4 or 5 pods a week talking about a team that was, like this was the post-Jimmy trade bad Bulls. Yeah. And they had to listen to Gar Forman say Paul Zipser's name every day.
I like it because they know what show they're walking into once they hear that intro.
A bingo.
Yeah, I get that.
It is a fascinating question, though, and we do have the Paris Olympics just right around the corner.
Yeah.
I am very curious to see if USA, and I know you just did a Tavern Style about this with our man Herb the other day.
Yeah.
Can the U.S. reestablish their dominance by doing this like LeBron, Steph Curry, Monstars squad after underperforming? And so the World FIBA Championships that happened, the Bulls, USA finished 4th?
Yeah, 4th.
Couldn't even win the bronze medal game?
Fourth.
Inexcusable. But like you looked at that USA roster and you're like, yeah, these are not the best NBA players.
No, they're not. And the best one, they're older too. You know what I mean? If you look around in the conference finals, you see who's in there.
But rooting for, like, we are all USA born.
Yeah, to answer the question, I'm going to root for Team USA. Like, that's just what it's going to be. But if they go out, then I'm going to find a player that I like. Or if I see a team that I like, I'm like, oh, man, I'm kind of rooting for them. And I think it happens even when they play Team USA. Yeah, let's say that said team beats Team USA, I'll be like, I won't be upset, or angry. I'll be like, Team USA lost. But, hey, that's a good team. I've been watching them. That's fine like that. That's kind of how I watch all sports. You know what I mean? That's just kind of how I do it.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, I'm not really getting emotionally invested in any of these teams anymore. It's just kind of not how I watch basketball anymore.
Yeah,
so
it's ball, man.
There's players I like to watch. There's teams I enjoy watching, but I'm not going to, like, buy any jerseys or anything.
I will say, and, certain Bulls fans certain Bulls players of the past who played for different national teams that aren't Team USA, I will absolutely root them on. The one that comes to mind for me is really enjoying watching Andres Nocioni ball out for that Argentina team back in the day.
He did play well.
When he was, just doing the same for that Baby Bulls team.
That's true.
And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we're like, wow, this Argentina team is good. And Nocioni was a big part of the reason why they were good.
Yeah, they have some guys on that squad, bro. So, yeah, it's cool. When's the last time you bought a jersey?
Maybe, like, college.
Damn. You know who it was?
Maybe even high school. I don't know.
You don't know who it was? Damn.
I mean, so the 21-22 season, the Bulls were good again, briefly. And they put out those sick throwback Chicago script jerseys that I am obsessed with. Right. That was the City edition.
I remember that.
Season. I got a DeMar one, and I'm like, man, I love these. And so I also got a Zach one.
Okay.
So I have a DeMar and a Zach in that red Chicago script City edition. Those are the last jerseys I bought.
That's dope. Joey, last jersey you bought?
Caleb Williams?
No. Last jersey I bought.
From Texas.
Arch Manning Jr.?
Texas, like baseball jersey.
Scored it.
No name, though.
Do you know the player?
It was no name, just a Texas baseball
Just a regular
jersey.
Texas baseball jersey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, dig that.
Very cool, actually. Very cool jersey. Before that, I was actually looking at my phone today. I want to buy an Angel Reese t-shirt jersey.
Okay. I believe they call those jerseys.
I'm kind of past my jersey phase because I actually drove by some guy who was wearing an Angel Reese jersey, and I was like, that's cool, but I'm never going to wear a jersey like a tank top.
Okay.
Just around, really. So I would rather just get the shirt jersey because it's a little more practical wear for me.
Interesting.
And I think that's a way for me to continue to support the fandom, but, just wear it in a more
practical.
casual setting.
Do not listen to and give in to all the haters who say grown men cannot wear tank tops and sports jerseys, because we sure as shit can.
No,
I'll
we
do it all
can.
fucking time.
I can. I will.
I know he's bringing his Olajuwon jersey to Vegas again this summer.
I will wear a jersey. It's just like I'm not every day. It's not an everyday wear. I think it's easier to just wear a shirt. Slip that into the rotation here and there. It's a little more versatile. So I think the t-shirt jersey for me is back in. Like I liked it.
Okay.
I wasn't always. Yeah, no, just for me.
Just with Spath. Sorry.
Just for me.
Gotcha.
Trying to think of other jerseys before that.
I know I bought the Olajuwon one, but I also
That's a
bought
sick jersey.
After the Last Dance. I bought the Jordan second year jersey, Bulls home jersey. That was like my favorite jersey.
Yeah.
Growing up. Yes. No. The white one. The white home one, man.
That had the Bulls in like really spaced out letters.
And it looked like sticky. It was stuck on there. You know what I mean?
Those were nice.
love that jersey. So I bought that one, and I'm very happy about that.
That's the jersey that Stacey was clowning on that broadcast a few years ago, right? Because there was that guy sitting in the stands wearing it.
He made that jersey. No, he did not have that jersey. That's what Stacey was saying. Like, what is that from?
Right.
Like, nobody's seen that, man. Shout out to dude.
I remember the last jersey I got.
Okay. Oh, here we go.
The one that Jelly sent me, the Kyle Korver.
Hey, shout out Jelly. Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of jerseys that are gifted, and as opposed to the question of the last one you bought, shout out to our friends at Klarna because they gave us our custom Bulls jerseys that have our names on the back of them from going to their Benny the Bull event this season.
Shout out to them for that.
Thanks, Klarna.
I don't know
Bulls
what
jersey
the
with
last
my freaking name on it.
Bulls jersey. It's funny you mentioned Nocioni because I did have a Nocioni jersey because I loved him when I was because when you're talking about
in,
that
kindergarten?
You're telling a joke. I was literally probably in first or second grade.
No, that was my accurate guess.
You're right.
I liked Nocioni a lot. I actually remember I went to an open scrimmage before the season when I was little, and I had a Nocioni jersey, and I had Luol Deng sign it, and he's like, this is not my jersey. I'm like, dude, just sign it.
Just sign it.
I know. Just
sign it.
Just sign it now, because I also loved Luol Deng.
He was great.
I haven't had a
Deng jersey.
in a long time.
It's one of the few jerseys I rocked with.
Ben Gordon was probably like the last Bull outside of Jordan or the championship years kind of team. Like I think Ben Gordon's the.
I for sure had a Derrick Rose jersey.
I definitely didn't
because that was peak fan for me. I was sixth grade. I remember I have a white Derrick Rose jersey.
Yeah,
I had the Addy Zeros.
Ooh, my jersey was hard, son. So love that jersey.
Those were better times.
Yeah, those were good times. Those were good times. You're right.
I used to be a big jersey guy. I had a lot of obscure jerseys. Like I had a Derrick Rose Simeon jersey.
Yeah.
I had Kevin Durant high school jersey that they misspelled.
Yeah, I remember.
I had
Carmelo high school jersey was.
I had like a Del Curry, Charlotte. I just like getting the random ones,
Yeah. I had I bought a Wendell Carter Jr. jersey, not because I liked him, but because the jersey was like $20 and 34 is my favorite number. And so that's the reason I got it. I probably wore it twice. It's sitting in a corner somewhere, balled up.
Remember when we were filming that bit in between the Outsider seasons? We were at that part. It was about like Sabine declaring for the draft. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
And you had like a Felicio jersey that someone at NBC had just been like, here, you want to use this for a bit?
Yeah.
And we were all like, well, sure, if we can use it as a joke to make fun of the fact that no one wants a Felicio jersey.
Yes. Truth be told, I still have that.
I was going to say, do you still have that one?
Dude, I still have it. It was the jersey that nobody wanted. We took it to the Bulls draft party when they picked number 7 and got Kobe White that year. We were supposed to give that away, and they forgot to get it. And so the people at the bar held it. It was like, hey, like who left the jersey? And I was like, oh, that's ours. I'll get it. And that was the end.
Couldn't give it away.
Autographed Felicio jersey.
Couldn't pay Bulls fans to take a Felicio jersey.
It's just hanging in the closet.
If everything works out, I feel like I'll get a Caleb Williams jersey.
I
didn't get a Justin Fields jersey, but I do. I need a Bears jersey.
I'm too scared.
I got a lot of Cubs jerseys when they were in that stretch of like the 3 NLCSs. That was a lot of jersey buying, but those were tough because they were shipping off all their good players very quick, and so it was one of those situations. But Caleb jersey, Rome jersey, even I'd like a Cole Kmet jersey. Actually,
you going in?
That might be number one.
You just ask him for one.
Yeah,
that might be my number one on my list. Cole, if you're listening, this is Joey here behind the mic. But you are just
game worn, man. Game worn.
You represent Chicago.
I tried to tell Matt and explain to him why I don't have any other Bears jersey outside of Walter Payton because I feel like it was a cursed thing to have one, and then he's trying to. Then my brother got me a Justin Fields jersey for my birthday, and I told him I wasn't wearing it, and he was like, "No, put it on. You gotta wear it to break the curse." And I put that joint on, and he got hurt, and I was like, "Okay." And then I threw it. I just tossed it in a corner somewhere.
I got a Justin Fields jersey too.
Quick anecdote, because it's related. I used to be obsessed with jerseys. George takes me to jersey store. I'm 6 years old. Lisa giving him specific instructions. You only buy a jersey that's on sale. Only buy a jersey that's on sale. George and I walk in, first jersey. I'm like, Dad, who's this guy? It's Walter Payton. The jersey is it's a youth small, but fully authentic, stitched, everything. Sure. It's definitely not on sale. George, I remember he said this to me. He's like, it's my duty as a father to buy this for you.
That's how you know that George Sr. is a damn good father.
Lisa was not happy. He said, I don't care. I have to buy this for my son.
It's my duty as a
It all worked out.
All right. Awesome. Next question comes from AJ, parentheses, 24, click to pick champion. I don't know what click to pick is, but congratulations on being the champion.
White Sox term.
Yeah. There you go. Sure.
That's the White Sox, like who you got.
Yeah.
Oh, right on.
Click.
Pick to click.
Click to pick.
AJ asks, what's going to be the most fun part of being a Bulls fan over the next season or two?
Us.
Is there excitement to be had somewhere along the way? Where is it? I realize this is an objective question, but would love a map. You want a map to the most fun thing about being a Bulls fan over the next 2 years? You're looking at it.
You're looking at it, bro. This is it.
Hang out with us. Hang out with your fellow Bulls fans while we talk about what the hell's going on.
And I mean that sincerely.
Truly.
Like for real, dog.
Truly.
Come hang out.
Most fun part? Yeah. Hang out with us.
Honestly, though, like, I know everybody thinks I'm, like, the doomer of the group.
Hate to tell you.
I hate to tell you.
But yeah, they think
But,
that.
like, if the Bulls, for good reason.
He does hate it, though.
If the Bulls, I do hate it. If the Bulls kind of go through that path that I outlined earlier of, like, draft somebody decent this year, move on from DeMar and Caruso, get some stuff, go into next year with your pick.
Zach
like,
as well.
Yeah. Figure out a way to move him eventually, but don't pay to do it.
Yes.
Like, that's a good spot. You got a good crop of young players, a good infrastructure to build with, and then cap space in a year or two. Like, that's a good spot to be in. I would be excited about that, but they have to go towards it. I think that's the key.
And will they go towards it? We heard the words. Now we're waiting on the actions.
But even if they don't, like, again, DeMar's going to be 35. He's not going to play forever.
Yeah.
If it's 2 or 3 more years, like, eventually this is going to have to turn into something else. And as long as they don't, like, get rid of picks and young players in order to keep this together, I think eventually it will get better. It's just a matter of, like, how well you set yourself up once you get there.
I like the fact that they're kind of in a position where they don't have a choice on a lot of this, or their choices are kind of running out.
Yeah.
Like this year, you either luxury tax or you're a winning team. The next couple years, you're gonna have to, even if you pay these guys, they're gonna, like you said, they're gonna be old. They're gonna retire in a couple years. Like, it's gonna be up, and you're still gonna have to do this again. So they're gonna be in a position where they have to not do it. And we're like, well, just go ahead and do it. Like, just start on it now. The draft is going to be awesome next year. Yeah, it's going to do it.
Yeah. And you know, for AJ and all the other diehards in the Discord, like, you are the diehards, so you're talking about fun about, like, being a Bulls fan, maybe looking forward to something. We know what the answer is of what's the most fun part about being a Bulls fan for the casuals that fill the United Center for every home game.
Sure.
Because it's, you know, cheering on their Duncan characters.
Yeah.
You know, rooting for 2 missed free throws in the fourth quarter so they can get a hot dog. That's what the casuals are excited about. Always do. That's why they pack them in.
So I'm thinking about that. Being so mad.
Will Gottlieb, president of the Casuals.
Ice Cuppy. Cuppy Coffee is reclaiming his throne next season.
He's so angry.
He freaking better.
He was so mad. It was so funny.
The most rigged thing I've ever seen in my life.
Can't be because she good. It's gotta be because
I'm not saying she isn't good. I'm saying no Duncan character had ever had that dominant of a season ever before. Not even close. She seriously won like 85% of the races.
Dominant run from Ice Cuppy.
Oh, man.
They're going to look back on that like the Bulls dynasty years.
The dynasty years, Ice Cuppy.
Yeah.
Like, come on, dog. Rookie of the year. You know what I'm saying? MVP.
How do we go back to those iced cuppy good old days,
Good old days.
of years past?
Is that how you're going to judge how good the Bulls are, about depending on who's winning that race?
No, I'm going to judge the Bulls and how good they are by whether or not they're actually, like, making playoff runs like real teams.
That's no fun. Do it by the coffee.
Yeah, well, you know what? I haven't had fun as a Bulls fan in a while, Dave.
Yeah, because we make it more fun to be one, Matt. Yeah.
Iced coffee is on the precipice of an enormous
Yeah, you can't just go throwing that dynasty word around after one good season. We are almost out of time, but real quick, a fun non-basketball related question from our guy Clem. Or no, this one comes from Alexander Farapus, actually.
Okay.
Any favorite comedians you guys have? Because there was a question about music and bands also, but I feel like we did that on our All-Star mailbag. So favorite stand-up comedians?
A bunch. Dave Chappelle, Richard Pryor, Chris Rock, Lenny Bruce, George Carlin.
Carlin's on my RIP list, along with Robin Williams.
Yeah,
Mitch
Robin
Hedberg.
Williams. Yeah, Robin. Oh God, Robin Williams, man, special. Robin Williams definitely on that list. Who am I forgetting? I'm definitely forgetting someone. Eddie Murphy, because just nobody had ever taken it there before as a comedian. What he did with the 2 stand-up specials and becoming the biggest movie star on the planet, and it's still talked about. Like, you still quote Raw and you still quote Delirious to this day. Yeah, those I'll think of right now. Oh man, what's my man Greg? Gosh, I can't remember his name. 2 G's, Greg something.
Greg Proops from Whose Line Is It
Not
Anyway?
Greg Proops. Shout out Greg Proops though, but not Greg Proops. Greg Proops is funny though.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look it up and find it. But yeah, those can mean though really. Patrice O'Neal
Oh,
was
dude.
outstanding.
So freaking
Sam
funny.
Kinison, outstanding. You know what I mean? Steve Martin. I mean, those guys, man. There's so many great ones. Martin Short. There's really a ton of just really Jerry Seinfeld, like just really great ones.
Have you watched his new Netflix movie yet? I
Not
haven't
yet.
watched it.
My friend told me
That cast is stacked.
He told me you'll love it because it's terrible. And I was like, awesome.
Yeah, one of my friends watched it and said he thought it was awful.
And I can't wait to see. I was like, bet it's
But
terrible.
he's a cynic asshole who likes less things than I do. So
It's 2 of y'all?
Yeah.
Together in the same place? Oh shit.
no, he lives in Bloomington.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the world can't take
Go.
that.
What about you? You watch stand up?
I'm
you
like
like to
very
laugh
much a casual when it comes to stand up.
Okay.
But yeah,
So
like
Ice Cuppy is your favorite comedian?
Yeah, Ice Cuppy and like box score stats. No, I'm
Rodney
just kidding.
Dangerfield.
A lot of the names you said.
Yeah.
Seinfeld's obviously a big one.
Yeah.
Chappelle's a goat.
Yeah.
Louis C.K. was
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
back
Oh,
in the
yeah,
day
yeah, he
where
was.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Um,
Same for Cosby until he.
Shane Gillis has been really funny lately.
I am not on the Shane Gillis train.
I haven't heard him as a comedian yet.
He's okay. I don't know.
That's from what I've seen okay.
Yeah.
John Mulaney, everybody loves John Mulaney. I'm not a fan.
I'm not a big John Mulaney guy.
It's like it's clearly like you like his stick or you don't, because I cry laughing listening to Mulaney stand up. I think it's so freaking funny.
It like, kind of annoys me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's annoying, but you know.
I liked him on Saturday Night Live, like doing skits.
Oh, when he does those like musical numbers for SNL,
yes, those are really
phenomenal.
Good. Yeah, those
I also love Nate Bargatze. He's like
Oh,
really
okay.
hot recently.
Yeah,
He is
yeah.
freaking hysterical. His deadpan delivery is great. It kind of has sort of like a Hedberg-esque delivery of his stories. It's like because
huge comp.
Mitch Hedberg was
bro.
just like one-liner joke.
Yeah.
Bargatze has like Hedberg's delivery style, but with storytelling, and it's just so freaking good. Also,
Mitchell,
my
yeah,
new
that's
favorite, I've been watching a lot of his stuff on YouTube recently. He also just got a gig as a part-time correspondent for The Daily Show. Josh Johnson, you guys heard of this
Yeah,
guy?
I heard of
He's
Josh Johnson.
hilarious.
Yeah, he is good.
I want to go see him live if he's coming through Chicago.
Roy Wood Jr. is really good
Right?
too.
Yeah, phenomenal. Diehard Cubs fan, Roy Wood Jr.
Sebastian Maniscalco, I like.
Oh, okay.
He's in and out. I
No.
like Sebastian Maniscalco.
He bugs me. Me. He is so annoying.
He's angry as shit
He's,
all the time.
he's the Kevin Hart of Italian people.
Bro,
God, he's so
the
annoying.
Aren't You Embarrassed special that he did in Chicago, I've watched like 5 times. That thing cracks me up, dog. It is because it's relatable when he's talking about his family and how they grew up. You know, just that kind of middle class family trying to save that money and the things that their father would do. And he was like, Dad, we want a dog. And he's like, anytime we wanted something, he was like, no, go to the neighbors and get theirs. You know what I mean? He's like, Dad, we want a dog. He's like, oh, you want a dog? Yeah, neighbors got one, 2 houses down. He's like, you go down there, you pet it, you come back and you cut my lawn. And I'm like, damn, like, I relate to shit like that. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. So that special I thought was great. After that,
Eliza Schlesinger, I think is how you say her last
Eliza
name.
Schlesinger,
She is freaking hysterical.
She is hysterical. Yeah.
So fucking funny. Also,
is funny,
shout out to Nikki Glazer who crushed the Brady roast.
One of the best roast people out
My
there.
goodness. Yes, I did watch bits and pieces of
I
the
haven't
Brady
watched
roast.
it yet. I haven't watched it yet, bro. 'Cause I thought
The
it was
biggest
3 hours.
fan of Brady on the planet hasn't watched his roast
I'm not.
yet?
I own nothing Tom Brady.
You're
I just
okay.
respect greatness.
You just say his full
I respect
8
Thomas
names, birth name.
Patrick Brady Jr.
Yeah, that one.
The greatest ever. I respect him. But no, I haven't seen it. It's because it's 3 hours long. That's the only reason.
It's long. That's why I was like, I'm not going to watch this whole thing. But I definitely made sure to watch Nikki Glazer's because I heard she crushed, and she's a great roast comic.
Call him the Kevin Hart of Italian people.
Sebastian, yeah, I did. You could also
shout out Kevin Hart, man.
I thought also maybe like the Dane Cook of Italians, but like that's too mean. That's too mean.
Nobody liked Dane Cook, bro.
No. People did for a hot second there.
No, they did. People with Ed
in like
Hardy
2002, people loved Dane Cook.
Ed Hardy and trucker hats all day long.
When his Comedy Central special came out.
Oh my God.
Whoo!
Everywhere. He was everywhere. And then he was making a bunch of crappy ass movies.
My God. Yeah.
Yeah.
True story. I ran into and had a
fight?
2-minute conversation with Dane Cook at a CVS in Los Angeles.
Nice. Yeah.
It's just he was getting some greeting cards, some toothpaste. I don't know, whatever you.
What'd you talk about?
His stand up.
You told him it was crap? Please say you told him it was
then
crap.
No,
you did not.
Square Garden.
It was nice.
No, I was nice.
I liked the movie Employee of the Month. I'll be honest.
And it's terrible.
What's the other one? I watched it twice. He's in Waiting too, right?
I don't know.
Yes, he's one of the chefs in Waiting.
I love Employee of the Month.
I relate very well to Waiting. I'm sure you do too. But
many years of restaurant service.
It's horrifically bad, which is why I watched it twice. That movie is terrible because it's him and my man
Dak Shepard.
Thank you.
Oh yeah,
fastest hands in the Southwest,
Simpson, obviously. But yeah, it's some bits and pieces that you're like, ha ha ha. But overall,
it's like terrible movie.
This shit sucks ass.
Horrendous.
Speaking of terrible movies and Dak Shepard, you ever watched Without a Paddle with Dak Shepard and Seth Green, and I forget who the third one is.
Funny.
I haven't seen Without.
At least it was when I was like 9 or whatever.
I watched it when I was 17 or 18 with some buddies, and we could not have gotten more high than we did before watching that movie, and still thought it was terrible.
9-year-old
maybe I owe it a rewatch. I don't know.
9-year-old Will told you it was the shit. He's like, it's on point, man. Without a paddle, shout out.
We are out of time for today. Thank you, everybody, for not only tuning in. Thank you to those, especially those CHGO diehard who threw us your questions in that Discord. Sign up to become a CHGO diehard, and you can do it too the next time we do mailbag content. Have a great holiday weekend, everybody. Stay safe, whatever it is you're doing, if you're in Chicago or elsewhere. Have fun and enjoy some NBA playoff action. We'll talk to you next week. For Will the Goat, Big Dave, and myself, and our pal producer, Joey Spathis. Much love, Bulls Nation. See you, Red. Be good.
Watch Employee of the Month.
Or...